Hi there, you're with Jennifer Frost from Australia, and I've got another card making project for you today that features something old and something new. And my something new is this brand new stamp set by Stampin' Up. It's called Stitched All Around, and it's got these really fun framelits that go with it. So we're going to play with those a little bit today, and this is the project that I'm going to show. I have popped powder pink in the background. That is a current colour, but I have tied it in with a retired paper. This was available in the last occasions, but you really could customise this layout and use any of those large bold patterns I know you've got sitting in your stash waiting to be used. So let's get started. I've got my powder pink card base, this lovely shimmery paper, and I'm just very quickly going to stick that to the front of the card base. I went a bit close to the edge then with my little tape. Alright, so I'm going to open that up to stick it down and line the edges right up. Looks like I've miscut by the tiniest bit right at the top. That's going to bother me, so I'm going to give it a little trim. That's better. So now our little tag. So I've got a piece here of Whisper White. It is about 2 inches. It's the size that fits in nicely with our scalloped tag topper, and it's 10.5 centimeters, which is exactly the size of the card. So you just slide that in until it can't slide anymore and punch, and you've got a really cute little tag. Now I did a stitched detail from the matching framelits along the bottom of that to kind of connect in with the doily as if it was stitched in place, but they've got another little piece in here that's not the straight lines. It's got little stitched crosses. So I wanted to give that a try on this sample just to see what the difference is. I haven't actually played with it yet, so it'll be cute to see how it turns out. So I've got my big shot up here. I'm going to line that up along the bottom, keeping in mind that this is butted right against the edge. This detail will cut right across the edge, so you don't want to sit it up too high. It's really right along that bottom. And hope it doesn't wibble wobble about too much. It's lined up well. Oh, there, that's cute. So we'll have little crosses for this one. Let me know in the comments if you think you like the crosses or the stitched line more, or if you think they're both pretty. Alright, now to decorate that tag, I've got a sentiment from the Stitched All Around stamp set, and I've pulled it out here. Now this is a clear rubber stamp, and what I've stopped doing is putting the stickers on the back. So all of our stamps come with the stickers, and I've always put them on the back, but then I have problems getting them to cling to the block. That's why I've got the sticky stuff on the block. And one of my stamping friends said, just don't put the stickers on the back, and for a while I was really stubborn and didn't want to do it, but then I played with stamps at her house and she didn't have the stickers on the back, and they all stuck really well to the block. So now she's got me doing the same. I hope that's going to be the right size just to get the little detail on the bottom there. Okay, I've got powder pink to tie in with the colours in our cardstock. If you are using a different DSP, you might want to choose just whatever the very lightest tone is. You still want to be able to read it, but you want it to be nice and soft in the background. And the only thing I didn't do, my friend recommends that you line it up, because they're see-through, the blocks are see-through, you can line it up with your grid in the background to make sure it's going to sit straight. So I'm lining it up, making sure that my words are straight with the edge of my block, so that when I stamp, as long as I keep the edges of my stamp straight, I should be right. Let's test it out. And I've gone in the middle. Beautiful. So the temptation, because you can't see the words, is to tilt it on its side, but keeping it in line with the block really does help with your positioning when you don't have a sticker on the back to show you which way to put it. Now a little bit of tape on the back here. I'm going to use tear and tape because it's an embellishment going on there. And I've got this piece of doily, it's been cut in half. These are also retired, but I've got a heap of them because I just loved them so much, and it's a shame not to use those beautiful delicate doilies on such a soft project. And I like to give it a little bit of a fan ruffled fold. Loosen it back up a little bit. I just want it to pick it up a little bit, and then I can come back and make sure those ruffles are sitting in nicely. Just drag that up a little bit. There we go. So I'm quite happy with that. And now I'm going to sit on, I've got these metallic ribbons. They came in a 2-pack. It's got this lovely pink, and it's also got a tranquil tide green, I believe, and they're both beautiful ribbons, both a little bit different. They come in a 2-pack. Just using the pink today, and I like just adding that little bit of pink detail, a little bit of texture that ties in with the project. I really should invest in some ribbon scissors to get a nice sharp edge when I'm cutting. Alright, so I'm going to position those in place, and I want them sticking out, probably not even that far. I might even position that in place and then give it another trim once I'm happy with where it's sitting, because I'm going to have that sit on with a staple. And I've just got a really old, conventional, standard stapler here. Position that over the top. Then I'll trim that in place. It's going to sit on dimensionals up here on my card. Probably had it going just that little bit straighter before. Now I have covered the staple up on my initial sample using a black twine bow, and I just tied my bow, it's a really small one. And attached it on there with a just a tiny bit of tear and tape adhesive. So I'm going to pop a little tear and tape where I want it to go. Probably could pull that little bit in a little bit more, so that gives us that little bold black element. And I think I just want to make sure that sits a bit straighter. I'm going to sit that up there on dimensionals, so I'm going to have regular size dimensionals for this one. So I've got my regular dimensionals here, and I've just got this edge here. I'm going to pop some of those just straight on. Really need to pop in another order for these. I always think I've got heaps of them in the cupboard, and then I go and look and find I already used them up. Right, so I'm going to take those backs off. And I'm going up in the top, probably the top third of the card. And the very last thing I added was just a little bit more of that pop of black and white, and I've used the very, very versatile Thoughtful banners. I called it Thoughtful Branches. That one hasn't been around in a while. Thoughtful Banners stamp set, and there's a Celebrate in here. You could use anything. You could add Happy Birthday. That's from Teeny Tiny Sentiments. I just wanted something really small, and I've just realised that as I was stamping everything for you, I have gone to the centre of the tag with my sentiment, but what I should have done was moved the sentiment so that it would have been in the centre where it sits over the DSP. So you can see a little bit of a difference there. But hopefully it'll still sit fine, and if not, we can get creative and pop it somewhere else. We'll see how we go. I always say to my ladies in class that there's no mistakes in card making. No one is ever going to see the two cards together, or they're never going to receive that card that you've given them and say, oh, it's not exactly the way you followed that tutorial. It's all very individual. So I've got my trusty bag of scrap black. Might go for a bit. Why do I keep them when they're that tiny, really? I should pop some of these in the bin. Alright, I've got this strip here. That'll fit in my punch at least. I'm going to stamp it with Versamark. And now I need to apply some white powder. Might use a bit of paper here to catch the paper as it drops, and then shuffle it back in. I'm quickly going to heat set that, and I'll be right back. So I've heat set my little sentiment there. I'm going to use my trusty classic label punch to get it exactly the right size. Trim it down. I'd just like it to be a nice little rectangle for this project, because I don't want it to take up too much room. And I might pop it over this side. So in my initial sample I've got it over here coming out of that bow, which I was really happy with. But if I do that now that I haven't quite positioned that label where I want to, it will just cut into that day a little bit. Might also be a bit unbalanced. So I'm going to pop that one over here instead. At least then in class this weekend it'll give the ladies a little bit of an alternate. They can think about what they'd like to do. I wonder even if I should pop that on dimensionals. Let me know in the comments if you would have gone dimensionals or if you would have stuck it flat. I think I might stick it flat. I do like my dimensionals, but today I think sitting it flat when you've already got that height in the tag and we've got height in our ribbons, I think flat's going to work just fine. I want to make sure you can still get the main gist of that, and I'm going about 2/3 down that tag. Enjoy your special day. So then we've got the two projects. So I love that no two ever look the same, and I've just finished that off with a couple of dimensionals. Oh sorry, not dimensionals, they're rhinestones. And I've got this big box that I'm just working my way through. And I know that there are some still in the catalogue. And when I work with I nearly called them dimensionals again. When you work with rhinestones, it's a good idea to, I like to work in 5s or 3s, odd numbers. I'll come up here, and then I've balanced it with a smaller one. If I can pick it up with my scissors there. And then a couple more in here. If you've got a paper that doesn't quite have that silver through it, you're going to have them stand out a little bit more, I think. Maybe one that's a little bit larger here, and then one lower down to finish off the set. Might go here where it's in that dark purple section. So there we have it. To enjoy your special day birthday cards. This is a really nice, well actually it doesn't even have to be birthday. With sentiments like that it could be wedding or engagement or any kind of event. So I think this is a really fun idea for any kind of DSP, and if you do manage to case this particular project and sketch, it would be really nice to see what DSP you had in your stash that went really well with that project and that layout. Thank you so much for joining me. If you like this project, don't forget to jump in and check out my YouTube channel here. I've got quite a few more that are coming up using this beautiful new product. Tempt you into picking it up and adding it to your stash. Thank you for joining me.